Good morning, friends, and welcome back to Astrology Today. My name is Mel Rose, and I am here to share your daily aspects. Today is Saturday, February 26, 2022, and the Sun in Pisces with Neptune and Jupiter, which are Pisces ruling planets, also sitting in Pisces right at home right now. It really makes for a pretty intense focus on the Pisces vibes. And the Sun in Pisces is a point really of pause, a time for us to dream and imagine and play and get some rest. It's a very creative time, especially with Neptune and Jupiter here, representing sort of an expanded flow of intuition and inspiration, all that stuff that comes in that helps us to express ourselves in a creative way. And the moon in Capricorn helps us to appreciate the work we have done and the culmination of our goals as we continue with the waning crescent moon to release what no longer serves us, which is work in itself. So this is the time to release, so that in a few days, when we come to the new moon, we'll have this clean slate to work with, setting our fresh goals and intentions. Okay. I'm going to get right into the aspects, but I just want to remind you that there's a legend on the side here. This legend has all of the symbols that are on the page today, but I will discuss all of the symbols as we go. I've divided the page otherwise into two columns, one for each of our luminaries. The moon sheds light on our inner lives, and the aspects it makes are relatively brief. They last about 2 hours, and they have more to do with what it feels like to be us, what it feels like to be in our body, our heart and our mind, our home, and really those things we think, feel, know, and intuit, the stuff that happens on the inside or in your personal life that is not necessarily expressed in the outer world. The sun represents the outer life, and the aspects the sun and the other planets make have more to do with who we are in our work, social, and civic sphere, that person that people first get to know when they meet us, the part of us that interfaces with the rest of the world. That's our outer life. And the aspects over here, they take longer, they have more to do with that stuff, and that's why we put them over there. Okay, and we begin with the moon, the inner life today, Central Standard Time, friends, at 5:40 in the morning. The moon makes a trine with Uranus, and this is a really beautiful time. It's pretty early in the morning for me. I don't know about you, but it's a very beautiful time, a really nice way to start the day with the inner life in this really positive, sort of ideally functioning energy, with the awakening that we're doing to the shifts and changes we can make in our lives. It can be a very instinctual and intuitive urge to make a change that happens quickly. And, with this aspect happening right here, delightful surprises do come on relatively quickly. And, we'll be able to make those changes without a lot of conflict in the heart and the home. Then at 8:43 in the morning, the moon makes a sextile with Jupiter. So this is our time to let the inner child sort of out to play among our loved ones. This is our inner life in a really cooperative, playful vibe with Jupiter, which is a sort of a cooperative, playful energy. It's very positive. It's about positive expansion, the growth that we do that expands our experiences. So it's a great time to just interact with people, especially that we keep close to us, and enjoy their company. And we can probably create good things out of those interactions, even if it's just positive bonding with those people that we care the most for. Then in the afternoon at 4:29, the moon reaches its perigee. So once a month, the moon comes to its closest point in its elliptical orbit around the Earth, to the Earth. And this really just says that the inner life, the moon has a stronger effect on us the closer it is. Okay, so the inner life feels closer to us, and it feels more important. these surprises, these changes we're making, the playfulness with our friends and our loved ones, all this positive stuff that's happening right now. We're likely, if you're one of those people who's very sensitive to these sort of ambient energies that affect our moods and our intuitions, the way we feel, we're likely to be feeling them more so than usual at this time. And then at 11:49 in the evening, pretty late, Moon makes a sextile with Neptune. So Neptune is our it's our spirituality, it's our connection to spirit, it's also our connection to the human collective. And you've heard me talk about how if you stare at those both long enough, they kind of tend to merge. Being engaged in spirit and spirituality does tend to inform how we engage in the human collective, how we engage in our relationships with the people sort of outside our home or just outside of us. In this sextile position, Neptune brings in a lot of inspiration and intuition. When the moon is in aspect with Neptune, we sort of feel the vibe and the energies of the people around us. And this aspect really says that we're in this sort of protected by spirit space as we're able to connect with our intuitions for creative insight. So, those vibes that we're getting off of the people around us, the people in our sphere, are really informing our creative ability right now. And this is a great time, actually, to look within, to engage in your intuitive practices, but also to just engage in your creative practices. So, if you make art, or you make furniture, or you make a daily astrology vlog, this is a good time to be sort of focused in on the creative aspect of what you do. Okay, and then on the sun side of the page, we have several ongoing aspects. I'll start with Venus conjunct Mars, which we've been discussing for a while, and we will have on the plate here until the spring equinox at least. Venus conjunct Mars is, our receptive, loving nature, our pulling power, our ability to attract not just attention and affection, but resources in an amplified position here with our initiative, the fire in our gut, that thing that moves us to take action and to be forward and to ask for what it is that we desire to get. So on reflection on this, what I got was that competition and cooperation right now are taking on this sort of really sexy, sensual, creative turn at this time. It's very much about partnerships, the partnerships that we take on romantically, the partnerships that we take on professionally, because both of these planets are in Capricorn, which is very worker mode, thinking about the work that we have to do. And I'm not saying that you should get sexy with your workplace partners, but understand that there's an extra sort of dose of creative, inspiring vibration there for the work that we're doing with our partners. So play, create, and vibe with someone that you like a lot, somebody that you really get along with, someone that you find yourself capable of creating good things with. And then also with us through the spring equinox is Jupiter sextile Uranus. So Jupiter, again, is that planet for growth and expanding our experience and our sense of who we are and what can be. And Uranus is about, awakening us to those shifts and changes we can make to just to have better functioning in our lives. And that sextile aspect, again, is not just positive, but it is dynamic, and it generates positive outcomes. So right now we feel eager to make these positive shifts, and I'm going to say specifically, in the partnerships that we've chosen, and we can really approach difficult tasks right now with confidence. So if there's something that you've been dreading getting into, or you've been sort of putting it off because you feel challenged about it, hey, that's okay. But especially, if you've got a good partner to work with, it's a good time to make a plan. Capricorn says make a plan, right? Pisces says get creative, and make a new approach to that difficult thing that you've been putting off, or sort of dreading having to do. it's a great time to do it. You can generate a good outcome. Okay, and then we have Mars sextile Neptune and Venus sextile Neptune, of course, because Mars and Venus are conjunct. They're very close to each other in the sky right now. They're going to be making the same aspects with the same planets as everything sort of, as they move together and everything sort of moves around them. So Mars, again, is our assertive nature, our sort of sexy, bold, brave nature. And Venus is our receptive nature. It's our desiring, our attractive, our pulling power nature. This is a good time to take your sweetheart out on a date. And it's a good time, when it comes to those romantic partners, or, maybe you're just now meeting somebody who might become a romantic partner. Maybe you just got into the beginnings of a relationship that, you wouldn't necessarily call it a partnership just yet, but it's a good time to share yourself in a sensual or sexy way with somebody that you feel very attracted to and can sort of vibe with, and again, create good outcomes. And I'm just going to, mention again, this is a very fertile time. We're talking about extra creative power, especially with Jupiter sitting in Pisces, with extra inspiration with Neptune sitting in Pisces. So be very conscious about where you're planting your seeds, especially if you're getting sensual or sexy with a partner, and especially if that's a new partner. You want to be really careful about that fertility question, right? Okay, and then coming up on Wednesday, we have a new moon in Pisces. So this will be our time, Sun in Pisces, new moon in Pisces. This is our clean slate. It's our time to set fresh intentions after we've gotten rid of all the old stuff that no longer works for us, to set fresh intentions and short-term and long-term goals, especially to set intentions for 2 weeks from the new moon when we have the full moon, and we can have a point of culmination where we can celebrate. So, it'll be a great time to be creative and in that inspired sort of vibration, that protected by spirit sort of vibration as we set our goals in mind for ourselves. Also on Wednesday, Mercury will make a conjunct with Saturn. That's our thoughts and communications in an amplified position with our sense of structure and stability. Mars and Venus on Thursday are both going to conjunct Pluto. So this is like these partnerships and these cooperative relationships that we're in an amplified position. These are already amplified, and they're going to be in a further amplified position with this planet for transformation that brings about evolution in our lives and like really deep and total changes. So if you see or feel the potential for some big changes coming around the bend, I wouldn't be surprised. But also, I'm just going to point to that and say, again, this is a very fertile time. So, somebody could find out that they're pregnant, but also somebody could find out that they got, awarded a huge grant to make an art project or something. So that's what's coming around the bend. And then on Saturday, the sun makes a conjunct with Jupiter. All this conjunct energy just brings a much more intense vibe, intense, cooperative, but possibly a little competitive and cooperative vibe to everything that we're doing. And especially the sun in conjunct with Jupiter is going to just shine a light on that expanded creative capacity that we've got at this time. So that's kind of a big deal. There are other things coming up next week. I just didn't want to put them all on the page and make a mess. So there we have it. Those are our aspects today. I'm going to go ahead and get into talking a little bit of tarot. But first, if you're still here with me 14 minutes in, why don't you give me a thumbs up, like my video, subscribe to my channel so you can catch these. You can hit the notification bell. I post every day a daily aspects. So thank you so much for being here. And if you have any questions or thoughts, or something comes up for you looking at this, or if something here resonates with you, don't hesitate to leave a comment below the video. Also, don't hesitate to share this with somebody that you think it will resonate for as well. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little tarot. First, I'm going to talk about the card on the side of the page, and then we're going to get into the Then we're going to get into a tarot card for just today. Card on the side of the page represents the first 10 days of the sun in Pisces. And I mean, by now talking about this, it feels like it's been a lot of days for the sun in Pisces, but it looks like, we'll move to the next card on the 1st of March. So the Eight of Cups here represents the first 10 days of the sun in Pisces. And it really represents, to me, it represents a sense of personal power to walk away from something, even if you put a lot of yourself into it. If it didn't work out for you, if it wasn't enough, which, that's sort of a message that's been coming through to me, is, you made this creative investment, or maybe you put all your pennies down on this intuitive hunch, or you just really put a lot of emotion, a lot of your heart and soul into a project that you were trying to create. And you got to the culmination of that project, and it just wasn't enough to hold all of the creative potential that is coming through. Because this is really expanded inspiration, expanded intuitive power, and expanded creative power. So to me, this says, I created this thing, but it fell short of what I am capable of. It is not my masterpiece. And although I put my heart and soul into it, and I love what I created, I've got to move on and work on something different and better representative of what I'm trying to create in terms of my masterpiece. And when I'm talking about my masterpiece, I'm talking about my life. My life is a creation that I am making. So, I just want to, remind you that if you've put your heart and soul into something and it didn't measure up to what you thought it would be, or it is what you thought it would be, but then you find that you need more, because that's what happens is we have ambitions and we set goals for ourselves, and then we get to that goal, and then that goal helps us sort of see further out and broaden our perspective, and then what we have is, again, not enough. So don't be afraid to walk away from something, even if you have invested a lot of your heart and soul into this creation or this relationship. Then, it's okay to have a conversation with your partners in that creation, or the people who stood by you while you were pouring yourself into that endeavor. Have that conversation, and then just, move on. You can leave it behind. We have an unlimited source of love and creativity and inspiration coming to us, flowing into us all the time. So it's not as though you won't be able to create something bigger and better for yourself. It's not as though you will never reach your masterpiece. In fact, the only way you won't reach the creation of your masterpiece is if you try to dwell in something that is not enough. All right? Okay, and for me, this really relates back to this Jupiter sextile Uranus. We're eager to make these positive shifts and changes in our life, and we can approach difficult tasks with confidence now. So if we're finding it difficult to walk away from something that we invested in, or if we're finding it difficult to make a change so that this thing can grow into something that does work for us, now is the time to focus on that. Okay, and now I'm going to throw a card for today. I'm going to sit here and mix up these cards while I remind myself and the cards that the sun is in Pisces, as are Pisces ruling planets Jupiter and Neptune. The moon is in Capricorn, and it is a waning crescent, so we're working on letting go of things that no longer serve us. We've got all of this Mars conjunct Venus energy going on here, where we're both more receptive and more assertive, more sensual and sexual at this time. So there's a lot of creative energy. Again, be careful about that fertility, because it is on board right now, okay? Especially with Jupiter in the sextile position with Uranus. We've got positive, expansive opportunities coming to us. So we want to be careful where we're planting our seeds. And also with, this coming up, this Venus and Mars conjunct with Pluto coming up, that's very transformative. That's possibly an experience that can change your whole life. And that's the real deal there. Also, on the inner life side, on the moon side, we have these really positive aspects where we're feeling more of what we feel in our lives, and the think, feel, know, and intuit is a lot stronger for us right now. But we have all these great opportunities to be delighted and to play and to connect with inspiration and intuition for, again, that expanded creative sort of license that we have. And with all of that said, I'm going to turn this card, the Hermit. Gosh, guys, you'd think that I have like 5 cards in this deck. Okay, so the Hermit is a card that comes up for me a lot lately, and some guidance that I received about it was that, sometimes, those of us who tend to be leaders, okay, Mars is my ruling planet, I'm an Aries. Those of us who tend to be leaders sometimes have to sit back and not sort of lead from out front, but to lead from behind, to sort of turn inward and become students before we can teach, right? To learn what it is that we profess to shine a light for other people. So there's no harm, and in fact it can be a really good thing to slow down, to back off from the constant engagement with the rest of the world, to dig into our intuitive practices, but also just to dig into our learning and our thinking, like our thought processes. There's a lot going on sort of behind the scenes in this person's head while they've got this really peaceful exterior, and they shine a light for others. So get into your learning, dig into those things that you really want to know about, that you profess to know about, and don't be afraid to just sort of shy away from being under the spotlight at this time. Be the one that holds up the light for other people to see, and at the same time be increasing in your learning, and taking these together. I have characterized this before as a lesson learned. Both of these people have sort of their back turned and they're walking away, one by the light of the moon and one by the light of a lantern. But, what was I going to say about that? Right, a lesson learned. So, we take what we have learned so that we can move forward into the next phase, the next transformed phase of our lives. And that's very Hermit energy. The Hermit just sort of keeps to themselves, moves away from society and the demands that culture places on them, so that they can increase their learning, their perspective, and their understanding, such that they can bring that learning, perspective, and understanding back to the world, and help other people gain the same thing. Okay, and I think that's all I have to say about that today, friends. Thank you so much for showing up today. I am Mel Rose, and I will see you all back here tomorrow for more daily aspects.